What's up guys, it's Alex here, your friendly reef dog, and today I'm going to give you a 10-month update on the Peninsula 500. Now I've got loads to show you today, including a centrepiece new fish, some great growth on my corals, and sadly some bad news regarding mortalities. Now before we get into that, if you're new to the channel, I put out a video like this every Friday at 4 PM UK time, which is 10 AM Central Time. So if you love reefing videos, have a think about subscribing. Right, let's get to the tank. Straight off the bat then, and I have a new fish, and this guy is an absolute beauty. It's an Australian harlequin tuskfish, and its teeth look like they have more power than a South American dictator. I've been researching these guys for a while though, and it sounds like they're coral safe, but may pick off the occasional snail, shrimp or hermit crab. But as my snails seem to breed like rabbits, I'm not too concerned by that. And I've bought an urchin as well, which I reckon is probably tuskfish proof. Although this little tyke has already started stealing my frags. That's just what they do though, so as long as you can glue every new coral down, urchins add real character to your cleanup crew. In my opinion, it's important to have some wow factor fish in your tank, even if that means taking a bit of a punt on a reef safe with caution fish. The only bad sign so far is that he doesn't seem to like my Solon wrasse, who has taken to cowering away in this cave. The Solon is a big guy though, so I'm expecting him to come out and stick up for himself in time. I've also bought a Blue Streak cleaner wrasse since my last update. Many people say keeping these is harmful to the reefs because it removes an important parasite eating fish from the wild, so it's definitely one to think about before you buy. Fish wise then, I'm getting close to capacity now with 23, but I do plan on adding at least 3 to 5 more. If anything, my nitrates at 3 parts per million are too low and there's no aggression in my tank, so more fish will be very much a good thing. I've chosen fish for their utility value, striking colours, quirky personalities and area of the tank they occupy. That plan has served me well so far and I'm really pleased with my choices. I'm not really interested in choosing difficult to keep species at the moment. In my opinion, there are enough stunning options out there without risking losing a new purchase and without taking fish out of the sea that are highly likely to end up dead. Now in my last update, I told you my zoas were growing like crazy and that I'd be fragging them soon. Well, Mama Reef Duck didn't raise her no liar, so I took a Stanley blade to my zoa cock this month. Now please don't take a Stanley blade to your cock at home, as it will end in tears and I can't afford the resulting lawsuit. This worked a treat for me though, and I took the resulting frag to my local fish shop who gave me £70 in store credit. So next time you see a single zoa polyp for $150, think about what it could make you over time. And on that subject, another great fraggable coral are Montiporas. I've gone a bit Monty mental lately, including this crazy tea that I drove 5 hours to collect. Although it looks nothing like the Google image of crazy tea, and it looks suspiciously similar to my beach bum Monty. But regardless of what it is, it looks cool and will pay for itself in frags in the long term. I can't be alone in driving long distances to get a nice coral, and I'd be interested to hear who's travelled the furthest, so let me know in the comments section. All in all then, my corals are doing pretty well and are growing at a rate I'm very happy with. There are some that could be showing better colours, but that will come with time, and I really don't want to start tinkering with amino acids, trace elements and so on and so forth when everything else is going reasonably well. Apart from 2-part dosing by way of ATI Essentials Pro, all I add at the moment is 1ml of iodine per week, and I'd like to keep it simple. I keep my alkalinity at just over 7 DKH, calcium at around 430 parts per million, nitrates around 3 parts per million, and phosphate at around 0.02. Of those parameters, alkalinity is the only one I really test regularly, and that's because it's so important. That's becoming a bit of a hassle though, and I've started thinking about automatic testing. All the options are a bit expensive for me at the moment though, but I'd be really interested to hear how you guys are getting on with any automatic testers you've bought, so let me know in the comments section. Corals are where I'm spending most of my money at the moment, and I think that will probably continue to be the case for quite a while. I still have loads of real estate that will need covering, although I've made the rookie error of putting some SPS too close together, which will inevitably lead to them growing too densely in places. I'm also thinking of getting a filter roller, and I'm currently waiting for release dates on the Deltec fleece filter. Those who have filter rollers rave about having crystal clear water, and they'll reduce nutrients, which will allow me to add more fish and feed more heavily, and both of those things should help bring out the very best in my corals. At the moment, my filtration consists of a large skimmer, a NIOS Quantum 220, a Cheeto bed, and a small amount of Cyperax, all of which is fairly simple and seems to be doing an excellent job. So I'm a little reluctant to change that which isn't broken, although shiny new gadgets are just too tempting sometimes. Like many of you guys, I originally planned on making this an SPS dominated reef, but it's really turning into a mixed reef, so there's every chance I'll never quite get everything looking at its best. What works for SPS corals in terms of light flow and nutrients doesn't always work for LPS or soft corals, but I'm a firm believer that with a bit of careful coral placement and a good throughput of nutrients, a mixed reef can be a real success. And as awesome as sticks are, I just can't live without a little bit of movement in my tank. So I've every intention to keep adding a mixture of SPS and LPS corals, although I'm probably set for zoas for now. Now, while almost everything is going swimmingly at the moment, I do have some bad news to tell you, I'm afraid. And unfortunately, I've lost some really nice livestock lately. The Maxima clam I've had for just under 18 months died after showing some serious signs of ill health for a few weeks. These clams need very high light, and it wasn't getting enough in the spot I chose for it. In the past, when I tried putting it up in an area of higher light, it got too much flow and it was constantly receded. And that was the problem I had with it all along. It's extremely difficult to find a spot in an SPS tank with high light and low flow. Dorasa clams aren't quite so demanding of light, so I may get one of those, but for now I'm putting this down as a failed experiment with clams. Oh, and if you're wondering, yes, it does smell as bad as it looks. My absolute favourite frag is also on the verge of death. It's a Gold Rush Monty which is extremely difficult to come across here in the UK. It's just faded over the course of a few weeks with no obvious cause. There's no sign of Monty Poor eating nudibranchs, thank God, and it was close to a similar Monty which is thriving, so I'm just putting this one down to bad luck. And finally, in bad news, my Naso tang disappeared a couple of weeks ago. He was absolutely fine, eating well and getting on with everyone else in the tank. I have no aggressive fish and he showed no signs of disease. So that's a real head scratcher. It's not often that I lose a fish, but every cloud has a silver lining, and his death means that I can now get myself a purple tang. These sorts of issues are inevitable in a reef tank, especially one that is relatively young and constantly changing with new corals going in on a weekly basis. So don't get downhearted if things go wrong in your tank. There are very few tanks, if any, that have no problems whatsoever. And overcoming setbacks is part of what keeps the hobby interesting. And all in all, the problems I'm having are tiny compared to my successes. They just happen to be rather expensive problems at the moment. But if I pray hard enough to the reef gods, they might just spare me for a few months. Now, this is my fourth reef tank, but it's the first I've put real serious planning into. I want it to be a show caliber tank that I can be proud of and something I can enjoy every day. Now, at less than 1 year old, it's very much early days, but I'm really happy with the progress so far, and I'll make sure I keep you guys up to date with the tank as it grows. So that's where the tank sits after 10 months then. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe for future content, and in the meantime check out some of my other videos. Until next time then, I've been the Reef Dog. Thank you, good night.